double there, but now he needs to convert and hopefully start and throw another one. Trying to shoot at the 9-pin, all over it. Oh, there were two there? Oh, it was 9-10. I did not see the 10-pin. I'm sorry. So that was an unfortunate break. So there's a 9-load, 9-box for Eric. Bring Jesse back up shortly here. So I do see now that Jesse Deitch's average did drop below 160.
Just barely.
Barely. It's about what he was averaging. I think he was averaging 159.5 coming in. So
it's going to drop some.
It's going to drop a little bit more after this game. I believe. He doesn't do anything crazy like throw a triple. Could be below that 157 average of John D. At this point.
And we're watching.
But that's really irrelevant. He's got 2 games to go, so it's
right.
nothing to talk about there yet, really.
Rick and O back in the picture here. 2003 Eastern champ. And Rick picks up the single pin spare. And now back on Eric Leteska.
So now Eric is in his 7th frame of game 11. And quite honestly, he needs to start throwing just a bunch of strikes.
Wow,
oh,
that could have been
Lord,
one, but
man,
stubborn 7-pin.
So all over that single and another mark. He's got a nice bounce back game, but he is running out of paper.
Hey, when are we going to get our wings today? I got to somehow get a tavern platter of wings from Bidwell Tavern.
I know. I've been promised some wings. I don't know. We got to make a couple of. I suppose we could find somebody. It's only 3 miles away.
Well, either the wings can come to us or we can go to the wings, but one way or the other.
We got an hour break, right? I'm kidding, Joe.
That'd be kind of a little bit too close. I don't want to get sauce all over the equipment when we get back here.
So if anybody's out there close by listening to our broadcast,
I'm buying.
If you'd like to make a donation to Duckpin TV, we're just asking you for your time. Go else, pick up 2 tavern platters, maybe.
2's good.
Strike lanes, will he? Here's Jesse Deitch getting back to the action. And off the side, leaving the bucket.
And breaking news, Kyle is shooting a single.
No, another single.
He's on it.
I can't believe he made that one. Wow.
That one was
very rare.
Doubt.
Very rare that Kyle
was in some doubt for a split second.
So Kyle does have the opportunity to get to 150.
All spares. 7 spares this game.
And he also has the opportunity to gain those 30 pins on Jesse if
or
he can.
More possibly, right? As Jesse's opening in the 10th.
And Kyle chopped for. So he does pick up
30 pins.
30 pins. He could have,
could have been more.
Could have, would have, should have.
Right.
But again, neither bowler hit a score enough to move him up the ladder at this point. And I'm afraid with that 113, Jesse Deach might find himself for the first time in this tournament not the average leader. I doing some
Dirty
math in my head here. He's 47 pins below his average over 10 games, so he drops about 4.5 pins, which is going to put him down to about 155.
Right, maybe even less.
And I'm doing this all off the top of my head, but I'm a pretty good math guy. So
we'll let the computer verify your calculations, but it sounds like you're right.
my school district, would appreciate the fact that I can do math in my head
Without
and
a
that I've been
calculator?
teaching them for 17
Right.
years. So,
And so as Jesse and Kyle switch pairs, we'll be focusing on Eric Leteska's last 3 frames here. And one stat that kind of jumps off Jesse's line score there, he finished that game with 3 8-boxes. So not only did he not open, he dropped 6 pins. Yeah.
I know.
So is he losing? Is he
He's probably going to
losing
be as upset
control?
about that as he is getting only 3 marks. I mean,
right? That's
you go back to that early this morning, he had that 4-box. So just thinking about those 4 frames, that's 8
Right.
pins. And as we've talked about so many times, in this tournament, 8 pins is
Could be the difference.
Could be.
There's been very close finishes the last couple of years. All right, here's Eric filling a spare in the 7th. Basically, must mark.
Eric's got to
all the
mark.
way out.
Eric's got to mark
This game
out.
and next game.
Splashes around for 5 or 6.
Yes. So Eric with the 1-3-7-9, trying to convert that, keep his glimmer of hope alive in the tournament. Punches through, just taking out the 1-9. So he's going to be in the 120s with 2 frames to go in his 11th game.
As we're watching our Kyle Shaw's group move over to lanes 3 and 4 for their final move of the tournament. They'll finish games 11 and 12 on that pair. Jesse and his group will move over to 7 and 8, and they will bowl their final 2 games on that pair.
So if my math is correct, I'm not a math teacher, but just doing math in my head, it looks like Eric Leteska's 4 games, 547. So below 140 average today. Kyle Shaw, 328, 467, 610.
He's averaged
his
just
score?
over 150.
And where are you? Jesse Deach, here we are.
So he's at
you do the math on this.
324, 477, 590.
So Kyle's made up 20 pins today on Jesse. And as our executive producer, Brian Ewing, updates the scores, Jesse has fallen below that 155. 154.7, I think, is what you had predicted, and you were correct.
Wow.
Not a prediction, but
Well, no, I was
an estimate.
doing math in my head.
There you
I
go.
mean,
So now on a per-game basis, John D'Antonis at the top of the leaderboard as far as average, not
but
total
just-
score.
And again, Jesse's got 2 games to regroup and maybe bump that back up. And it's not easy to walk in here and throw 6 games at 157. I'm
Right.
saying no matter what.
Right.
So people that are out there that are not familiar with the sport of duckpin bowling, the bowlers that we're following predominantly are throwing games that are above anything that is a great average. The best average in the country is Jesse Deach, and he's averaged, over all the course of his tournaments and leagues and whatnot is 150. It's an outstanding average, relatively speaking, probably 20, 30, 40 pins above the average bowler.
Right. Yeah, he ripped through the middle on his first ball of the 11th game, but manages to trip out. Looked like it might have been the 6th pin, so he's got a spare leave here on the first frame.
Off camera, Kyle. Oh, we've got Kyle up in the corner. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm looking at the picture. Yeah, our executive producer's throwing us little cookies here and there. Just gave us a little extra feed now. So we've got Jesse converting the spare in the main screen. And now on your main screen will be Kyle attempting to convert yet another 2-pinner. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's got to slide this one over. And, of course, the way Kyle shoots the ball, it just goes down.
Plan B doesn't make it.
You know, the 5, 9, 10, just a ho-hum, another spare.
Here's a replay. I'm sure he's trying to shoot the outside of the 5-pin, the left side.
Yeah, he had no expectations of that coming off all the way from the other side.
Misses it so bad, he clips it on the right, and it boomerangs back for the 10.
Yeah, that was not, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle was not attempting to hit that pin there. He was trying to go outside of that 5-pin, I promise. So we are now bringing you picture-in-picture. We've got on the main screen right now lanes 3 and 4 with 5 and 6. 7 and 8 up in the corner, and now reverse that. So if there ever is a point where Kyle and Jesse are both bowling at the same time, we should be able to keep it fairly live for you so you can see all the action as it happens. And if you happen to blink, we have instant replay, so got you covered there as well. Got a little gap in our bowling here because of the timing, but just to go back to that weather situation, I got a mea culpa here. I do a lot of Facebook amateur meteorology stuff, and people follow me. And the last storm, the snow total predictions were an absolute crapshoot. It was a pure guess, and it was a bad one in the end. But I was joined by thousands of other meteorologists across the states that did the same thing. This storm was just a complete, was just an enigma.
Well, it was really the wet and the wet and the wind was predicted right on. It's just whether it was going to be rain or snow.
Right, and in sort of in my defense, my last forecast, so to speak, I said was an absolute guess, and because I just had no idea what was going to turn to, and it didn't. Luckily, we probably wouldn't be here today if it had turned to snow.
We'd be buried.
Well, I think the power outages would have been widespread. So anyhow, that's over. The weather's nice today. All these people who are traveling back this afternoon should have a safe ride. We have Jesse Deach now. He'll be loading his spare in the first frame of game 11. And he's got a 9 drop on that, leaving the 8-pin solid. In the upper right-hand corner, you see Kyle coming into the picture. He's also, I'll say it again, filling a spare there, yeah.
A little less conventional spare, though.
Well, Jesse's all over his. So nice bounce back from Jesse coming off of that uncharacteristic 113 game. Right. Let's put it that way.
Oh, and finishing with 3 8-boxes in a row.
And I would say not unexpected. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't care if you average 150. It just isn't always in the cards. Sometimes you throw a good ball and don't get good results.
Well,
and
there's an example of it right
there's
there.
There's a really good example, as Kyle just showed.
So you can hear that clack of the heavier hit, but could
2-4-6 is not a pretty sight. This time he doesn't get the bounce. So 7 load, maybe a 10 box, and then move on. So we're going to take a quick break right now. We've got, again, we've got a lot more action to bring you throughout the rest of today, as this is the last 2 games of this shift, and we've got 6 full games from the final shift. This is the Frank Barber, the 88th annual Frank Barber Memorial Duckpin Classic. We are Duckpin TV, and we'll be back right after this.
Nick's become the biggest problem solver I ever know, you know? He's just, okay, I want to do that, so we're just going to figure out how we're going to do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated and Collins champion.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ring and 5 pin, and we have a tie.
Welcome back to Duckpin TV's live coverage of the 88th Frank Barber Memorial Eastern Duckpin Classic. Jim Kaufman here with Pat Rufo, executive producer Brian Ewing. We also have Steve Korick helping us collect scores. Depending on who you're following, this is either the 11th or 12th game for bowlers on this shift. Looking at Kyle Shaw, it is the beginning of his 11th game. He's actually in the 3rd frame. 27 through 2. And he is chasing, along with everyone else, is chasing the score of Jesse Deach. Jesse averaging almost 155 through his first 10 games of qualifying, or
And
first 10 games of the tournament.
if you are just joining us, what you just saw from Kyle has been happening all morning long.
Rinse and repeat.
He except that hasn't been happening all morning long. That might be the second of many, many, many singles that he shot at today that he missed. And again, that's a rare sighting when you see a Kyle Shaw miss a single. So at this point, we are starting to look at least as far as leaders in the clubhouse. 1771 is the score that they need to get by. You look at
Jesse only needs 225 to go
so
by
Jesse
that.
can go by that without even coming close to his average. Kyle's going to need I can't find 1498. Kyle.
Here.
So Kyle's going to need 273, 274, I believe. Kyle's about 50 or 60 pins behind Jesse.
He is
1498. He's 50.
51
Okay,
pins behind Jesse.
49. So I got 49. 47 plus 2.
Correct. My bad.
Right.
You're the math teacher, not me.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to correct
Thanks for
you. I was
busting out
trying
the
to,
red pen on
I was trying to just gently remind you of your carrying
Right.
and your subtraction skills.
Do you still use red pens?
I use purple.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm more
Less
more
harsh.
gentler.
Right.
The kids figured out that purple and red are the same, unfortunately, or
Right.
green.
Red's
anything
pretty
that's
harsh.
not blue is
Right.
bad. But red is a very negative connotation,
Absolutely.
so I've gotten away from red. So in front of your screen, see him cleaning some residue off of his bowling ball. About to get on lane 3. Attempt to load his second spare of this game. Will be Jesse. Has Eric Lateska over trying to break up some strikes, but just not happening for him right now. 9 drop, I believe. 4 pins not cooperating. Here's Jesse loading his second spare of game 11. And starting to drop 9 much more consistently now.
Right. And
Eric
been a
covers-
split there. Looks like it was a little heavy there in the pocket, but broke it up.
Eric covers his. See, now they're really, really, the doors opening are wafting the
I
chili
smell
smell
the chili,
all
absolutely.
over
The
here.
crowd's coming in for shift 5. Chili smells amazing. Time to
There's
get
Jesse
some. You're in the
bouncing
area.
back very nicely from that 113. He's already off to a 3-mark start. Exactly what he needed to start the 11th game, and a real confidence builder knowing you're staying on this pair if you can put
Absolutely.
together a big game.
Right. Get locked in on these lanes and get to benefit it for 20 frames.
See Mike Dominique there cleaning up before Kyle steps up onto lane 3 to continue his attempt at a comeback, or I don't call it a comeback, but a
Rebound.
I mean, he's just trying to put on a charge, try to make a move.
And here we have Dean Vertefay.
Dean trying to convert the 5-pin single, and goes by to the left.
Ball hopped on him there.
Another one of our Duckpin TV sponsors wearing our shirt proudly.
Covers for 10. And here comes Kyle.
Wow. I was just thinking, I can't remember the last time Kyle's thrown a strike, but it's been at least a game and a half.
After missing a single,
Yeah, it seems like every time,
automatic, right?
almost. For all of these guys this
The rule of
morning, it's
thumb is a
been
duck
very,
ball.
very frustrating, I guess, is the word, because you lost a 10 load. It's like Eric went through the middle.
Split for 7 on his spare in the first.
3, 4, 6. Tried to slide that 3 over, but
Yeah, basically, he's at the point
Unsuccessfully.
to try and make everything.
yeah, well, this is it. He needs a miraculous finish to even have
Right.
a sniff.
His
You see a
replay.
replay. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Kyle crossing over to the 1-2, but solid.
Back row just imploded.
Gone.
So you can see the ticker. There's the update with John D'Antonis' 6-game average now in the lead average wise. Still got to shoot those games though.
6 games to maintain that average is not an easy feat.
See Stacy Cully moving into 3rd along with Don Dove in 4th. So it's been a little bit of shifting around in the top 5.
But as you can see, there's a lot of bowlers waiting in the wings. Shift 5, John D'Antonis, Stacy Kelly, Don Dove, Mark Anastasi, Steve Dreyer, Will Rigney, Billy Thomas, all within striking distance.
And the one thing that they can start to look at is no one in this shift has put up a monster number yet.
right.
And it doesn't look like they're going to have to go. If Jesse had come in this morning and put up another 970 or 950, those guys would be looking at an incredible
Pressure's
mountain
on.
of pressure pack. But now they can look at it and say, you know what, if I can put together a solid 900 set, I got a shot.
Right.
And again, what number we've been talking about? 1800.
Right. always the magic number, the starting point to shoot for.
Again, there's an instance where Jesse was on the head pin, and just every once in a while you're going to go through the middle, and there's nothing you can do about it. Get the 3 load, make the 10 box, and move on. Kyle is in a position right now where, with 16 boxes to go, he's saying, "Please, please, I've been waiting for the doubles
Right.
for 12 games, for at least 10 games.
I'm
ready.
due.
Ready."
It's the due theory.
So look over to my right there, Jim. Our current clubhouse leader is here to witness the end of the tournament. Kyle's got him spinning around, and it is unfortunately going to be yet another 9 drop.
Good news, he broke up a split.
He did.
Bad news, it was not a double.
Right.
Did not result in the double. But again, single pin opportunity. Like riding a bike. He missed his last one pin attempt. But he is back on it here.
I would have been shocked if that wasn't a make, because he doesn't miss many, and 2 in a row would be extremely rare. So it's a 10 fill and a chance for another. Again, 59 pin, 49 pin differential. 49 pin differential between Kyle and Jesse, both of whom we expect will go by the 1771, given the averages that these guys have been maintaining.
Kevin Martin, like you said, just walked in, and he'll see it happen firsthand. It looks like, barring some
Meltdown.
major collapses.
It would have to be a meltdown at this point. I mean, Jesse would have to go 40 pins under his average twice.
Right.
Here's Eric Leteska finally breaking him up. In his mind, probably just finish this up. Let's just get another good score. He has a nice set
Right.
already. He's got a nice high game. Just didn't fall together the way he wanted it to this morning,
Right.
unfortunately.
So yeah, just doing my math here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but even if Eric managed a 300 game, which has never been done in the history of Duckpin bowling, that still
Right.
put him at 1775.
Which is, leader in the clubhouse.
Oh, wait a minute.
But
No, I take that back, because that score I'm looking at is through 10 games for Eric, so that's not updated for 11. I'm just trying to think. Yes,
what did Eric have last game? Eric had the 130s, I believe, 130 something, 135.
so let's say he has just over 1,600.
Yeah.
So really, a 200 game puts him at 1,800,
So he's not completely out of this.
and a decent 200 game. But again, now he has to build off this first strike here to even start thinking about that. And then all the while has to worry about what Kyle and Jesse finish with. But just maybe psychologically get to 1,800 would be a victory.
Get a real close-up shot of Jesse there, taking up the entire camera. He's not loading a mark on this particular box. He's looking to start the string over again. He's off the side of the head pin there for 7. It leaves the 2-4-7.
It makes that by getting the head pin to fall makes the spare a little bit easier to convert.
Yeah,
One
the
less
4
variable.
horsemen's not as cooperative as the 3.
Right.
I assume he'll split between the 2 and the 4 here and just drive them all in the corner. And
Well,
before I can even finish the sentence,
That's okay.
they all disappeared. Not the way I thought, but they all went.
I'll take it. No questions asked.
Meanwhile, Eric was
Eric split. on
unfortunately
his-
leaving the 5-7. So Eric had an 8 load and a 9 box. Again, very frustrating. Every time he gets something going, the next ball's been unproductive, if you will.
All right. Well, here's Kyle.
Kyle, I'll say it, Kyle's up, filling a spare.
Wow.
And
Another crush.
Kyle's throwing
Another
another
single pin.
9 drop. So, duck pin bowling is not a strike game. Let's just make that perfectly clear. But essentially, the way Kyle's been throwing the ball, you would expect just a few more strikes than he's been producing.
Again, a replay of that first ball where he just crunches the 1-2, but
Yeah.
all the pins fly around the 10.
No one's ever going to complain about 9 drops in this game. I can
Well,
promise you.
some do.
But you shouldn't. All right, you
I
shouldn't.
think we all do at some point, just some more than others. Kyle, you don't see much
Kyle would not complain
at all as far as negative emotions coming from him. He's usually
No.
pretty even-keeled.
I think Nick's become the biggest problem solver I ever know. You know, he's just okay. I want to do that, so we're just gonna figure out how we're gonna do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated and Collins champion.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ringing 5 pin, and we have a tie.
Welcome back. You're with Duckpin TV on Facebook Live. We are covering the 88th edition of the Frank Barber Memorial Eastern Duckpin Classic. We're at Lucky Strike Lanes in Mansfield Center, Connecticut. Jim Kaufman here with Pat Rufo.
I'm stuffing my mouth with a donut. I'm sorry.
You ate really one of the Boston creams?
I did. Were those promised?
It's all right. So I'm not supposed to have them anyways, so it's probably better you than me. So yeah, let me get focused again on bowling. Also here with executive producer Brian Ewing, who's also eating a donut. They're eating donuts on either side of me.
And you're eating a Nutri-Grain or something?
I'm eating a protein bar,
Something
a Quest
healthy?
bar. It's good, but it's not a donut. Steve Corrick's also around and about, collecting scores for us, adjusting cameras.
I was doing great until you mentioned those wings, and then all of a sudden I was starving.
Yeah, me too. I'm ready. I
So-
am ready for wings.
Off camera, I believe Kyle ripped through the middle for 6 and made a 10 box. And I don't know, has Jesse shot at the spare yet?
I don't think so.
He's got a 9. He's got a pin laying in the gutter. There's a pin in the left-hand gutter. So
I'm not
Jesse
sure
had a
if they're
9 load.
If they're having lane problems or what the issue is.
I believe there's a pin that's not on the
Yeah.
belt, and they won't go with the ball, so they're
Oh, they're all right. I
they're
don't know if
waiting
it was a
for
reset
clear,
problem or
waiting to clear that
it's the gutter belt?
deadwood. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jesse did have a 9 load on that mark. And the magic stick came from above and cleared that pin out. Jesse now trying to refocus and convert this 10 pin for spare. And that's not going to make him feel really good about that one. He's got to think he's starting to feel a little bit of
Possibly.
tension maybe there.
It's hard not to. You realize I'm on the cusp of possibly winning this tournament. And those single pins start to look a little bit skinnier, a little bit farther away.
And then having to wait for it can get in your head.
And he's an opportunity for the rare trifecta of being the number 1 ranked bowler in the country, defending Pro Tour Bowler of the Year, and defending Eastern Classic champion. So I don't know if that's weighing on him or if he's thought about that at all this weekend, but he has that opportunity right in front of him.
See, Eric just dropped 9 there and trying to convert the 3 pin for a spare, and he does. Once again, in your camera here is Dean Vertife. A little heavy on the head pin. 3 in the 4. It's a 2 in the 4, sorry.
And so not only will we be following the leaders for the scratch division, the open division, but there's also the B division and C division champions that need to be crowned. As it stands right now, we have Stacey Kelly atop the B division average-wise after 6 games. He's averaging over 150. He's also in contention for the Open championship. Phil Foreman, who's currently bowling now, is
he was
the
in-
early B division leader. He's averaging 137, almost 138 for his first 10 games. And in the C division, it's Matt Gano.
Oh,
135.
Kyle got a strike.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Not 9, but 10 on his first ball.
And he didn't miss a 1-pinner.
Let's check that one out again.
Well, he finally got that extra pin to kick. He's got it, and it just
Wow.
tipped over from the back.
Yeah, we haven't seen that. Usually if there's a pin standing, it doesn't
Well,
get
that
knocked
6
over.
pin has
Finally
been
did.
standing there for him all day.
Yeah. Former champion in the camera view again, Rick Gano, 2003 champ. He's usually behind the cameras, not in front of them, with his full-time job as a contractor for primarily Fox Sports.
See if he can clean this up. And that's
Those Rob Skeen, is that who you had said?
yeah, I believe Steve Korick identified that lefty there as one Rob Skeen.
Oh no, that's a righty.
He's
That's
from
not Rob Skeen.
Massachusetts. I'm not sure if he's one of those candlepin bowlers. I could be. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's Rob, who would be coming up on the far right of the camera.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was wrong too.
That was, I think that might have been the Santuccio Weaver.
Oh, okay.
Brian, he's from Maryland, but this is Rob Skeen over here from Massachusetts,
There you
so far right of your camera.
There's Dave Dupuy.
Potentially a candlepin bowler, the way he gets down so low to the
Right.
ground.
There's another candlepin bowler from Massachusetts. Dave Dupuy on the screen here, off the side for 2. And now
We
back to
are
Jesse.
now back to Jesse here. The pace is slow. You would think the pace would pick up if they're on the same pair without having to move, but it
Right.
seems like
Well,
it's
they had
going
to
the
wait.
other way.
They had that deadwood belt, a gutter belt issue.
He drops 9. Kyle will be attempting to load a strike of all things. He hasn't been doing that much. He's been loading a lot of spares. Jesse covers his spare for the 8th frame, so
7th
seven.
frame.
I'm sorry,
Right.
7th.
Sorry, this graphic is
I know.
messing with you. But Kyle's in the 9th frame right now, working on a strike in the 8th. He has 102 plus in the 8th.
Kyle's just visualizing
Yeah,
the
I wonder-
best ball he
I'd love
can
to be
throw
inside
right now.
some of these top bowlers' brains sometimes. What's the thought process?
Well, I'm sure it wasn't chopped through for 8.
Right, heavy, but again,
He's left this
fortunate
shot so
to leave
often.
a spare break.
Yep. Eric went by his attempt at a spare. So Kyle once again shooting the 3-6. I believe he shot this several times today. Didn't take any chances with it that time, and will be loading a spare in the 9th.
I'll keep talking.
Sorry, it's very rare for me to stop talking. I'm sorry,
I know,
I
I'm not.
threw you off.
I was just waiting for you to start.
I know,
up again.
I know. Sorry. Let's just take a look at Dean Vertife here. He's, again, the man's wearing a Duckpin TV shirt. I'm going to give him some time.
Sure.
He's trying to make the 1-2-9. And,
Picks just. The
I'm
three.
sorry, that's the 1-3-9. Takes out the 3-pin. And he's off to the left on his attempt there, so that should bring Kyle back onto the lanes shortly. See Sean Leteska there getting ready to approach the lane as well. Yeah, Jesse Deach is back up on his lane now. He will be filling a spare as well. Lane 8. And he leaves a light off the head pin, 5-pin bucket there. That's even more difficult than the regular 4-pin bucket. And he converts it very easily. So it's a 5 load. So Jesse with a 5 load spare, basically keeping pace is what he needs to do right now. He's plus 25, plus 35, and a ball going into the 9th. Eric Leteska is going to be finishing up his tournament here in 3 boxes, whereas Jesse and Kyle both have games remaining. See Dave Dupuis in your camera frame, Rick Gano. Also Rob Skeen. These are all gentlemen who are dedicated duckpin bowlers. So you come up, wherever. These guys are coming from Massachusetts, from Maryland, from
Virginia.
Virginia, North Carolina, and spending a weekend or at least a day up in Connecticut to bowl duckpin bowling. It's a testament to the game and to this tournament.
And usually dealing with the elements
More often than not.
Right.
Yeah, more often than not.
to get here and get home.
Unfortunately, the end of February and March is not a tranquil time of weather-wise in New England.
Right, early March, right? Late February, early March,
Some of the-
in like a lion.
Some of the most historic snowstorms of all time have been in March, believe it or not.
March definitely came in like a lion this year.
Might hang out as a lion for a
Right.
while, it seems. I was posting on one of my posts, I said, hopefully the lamb at the end of the month will taste good for Easter. 'Cause
Right, yeah, right. April 1st is Easter. I'm not a big lamb fan myself.
No, I don't eat lamb. It's just
No.
that some people do. That's an Easter dish, right?
Yeah,
Is it like a lamb?
Yeah, probably, I guess.
Lamb chops.
Not my family,
Lamb
but
chops. Is that what?
rack
I'm
of
not
lamb.
I'm not a lamb guy.
I had rack of lamb. We went on a cruise for our honeymoon, and
Yeah.
one of the nights in the dining room they had rack of lamb. So I said I'll try it, and I couldn't put enough mint jelly on it
I describe it as
to
like,
kill,
kind of
to
like
kill the lamb taste.
greasy, gamey.
Yeah,
Kind of,
my mom used to cook it growing up, lamb chops, and I'd eat it because that's what was on the plate. But
yeah. Well, that's how we grew up.
I haven't bought any since then. That's for sure.
No, I'm not. I don't think I've ever purchased lamb. So, anyhow, hopefully March goes out like a lamb,
Absolutely.
and hopefully
Out
nobody
like a
eats
ham.
the lamb.
Out like a ham.
Out like a ham. Yeah,
I'll have
That'd
some
be
Easter
better.
ham.
That's another thing I'm not a big fan of is that spiral ham.
Oh, I like spiral.
See, I
Oh
don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you got the glaze to put on it.
Yeah. I'm Italian, so our Easter forte is the frittata, the omelet, with all kinds of sausage and meats, and so that's my
That's
Easter
your wheelhouse.
go-to. Yes,
Here's Kyle in the 10th frame here.
and ho hum
9-drop.
9-drop. So Kyle looking to convert and approach 150. Nice game. Unfortunately,
Needs a little bit more.
not enough yet. So Jesse continues to pile up the marks. It's like Jesse's taking a page out of Kyle's handbook here with 6 marks and all spares
Right.
through 8 boxes. And I'm sure Jesse will take those all day for the next 12 boxes. And
That was a Kyle strike, unfortunately, just to fill in the 10th. So he finishes with that 151.
Jesse loaded with a strike. For those of you out there in Duckpin TV land, Jesse threw a bomb. Matt, called it for us from 10 lanes down.
I jumped the gun. I thought that was Kyle's strike ball, but it was,
Kyle
it
had
was
an 8.
Jesse.
So Jesse now on a strike.
We're going to take a
And
quick
we're
break, I think, here before we get to his 10th frame.
We're Duckpin TV. We're live from Lucky Strike Lanes in Mansfield Center, Connecticut. We'll be back right after this.
I think Nick's become the biggest problem solver I ever know. He's just okay. I want to do that, so we're just gonna figure out how we're gonna do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated. McClellan's champion.
Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ringing 5 pin, and we have a tie.
Welcome back. It's Duckpin TV with our coverage of the Eastern Classic. Most bowlers here are wrapping up their 11th of 12 games. Some have already finished. Eric Leteska is finishing up his final game. Unfortunately, he has fallen out of contention, so it seems, whereas Jesse Deach and Kyle Shaw have not. Jesse, at this pace, will be leading the tournament if he continues to bowl at the clip that he's put up through the first 10 games and 9 frames. Kyle Shaw has a little bit of work to do to catch him. Well, we're glad you're tuning in at this point because it's about to get a little more interesting, a little more exciting as Jesse and Kyle get into their last game of the tournament. And then even after they're finished, there's still another shift of hopefuls to try and overtake whatever scores they put up. Names like John D'Antonis, Connecticut bowler, Lucky Strike bowler Stacey Kelly, the great Don Dove, Mark Anastasi, Steve Dreyer, Will Rigney from Rhode Island, Billy Thomas, also from Maryland. So there's a lot of great bowling action coming up.
I see you caught it. We had Kyle for 149. He actually had a 159, which is correct in our main screen, but not correct in our score. So I'm not sure where we
missed a mark.
We missed something somewhere, but he has a 159 recorded on the paper.
So that's an extra 10 pins in his pocket that we
Sure
didn't think
is.
he had.
Kyle will be starting his 12th and final game. Jesse Deach is finishing his 11th.
Wow.
And leaving a solid almost 5.79. The 9 fell, so he's left with the 5.7. Kyle starts his last game with a strike, not a spare. So a good start for Kyle. Did bump his average up a little bit with that last game, 159. Get him up a little bit higher up in the 150s, 150.1, 151 maybe. So Jesse trying to slide this 5 over or bounce it out, neither. So be a 9 load. Put him at the, it's like a 143, 144 plus 9, 153 for Jesse, I believe that will work out too. So Kyle with the 159 makes a little bit more headway, but down 40,
more than 6.
down 49. Now he's down 43, going up against a guy that averages 150. So
and averaging more than that,
right,
closer to 155, 154 and a half.
So Kyle needs something real big, or he's got to, hope against hope that Jesse throws something up. But that's not even the issue because Kyle has not reached the level of John D'Antonis' 6-game average yet either. So there's another bowler waiting there that can still put him, in a position where he's not going to win unless he throws something real big. And he started off with a strike. So, if maybe he can finally string those strikes in this final game and put together the big score that he needs right now. He's sitting at Jesse Deach is sitting at 1,700, so he's literally 72 pins from going into the lead in the clubhouse, whereas Kyle's at 1,657. So if Kyle puts up close to a 200 game, he's in the 1850s.
Right, which I feel pretty comfortable
I would
about.
be okay with that.
Sure, beyond okay.
Again,
it's a lot to ask for.
But if you look at that, if Jesse throws a 160 game, he's at 1860.
Right.
So there's when you get down to the last game, the last box, it gets to be a little bit more finite. You can start looking at details, whereas we couldn't do that when we were in games 7 or 8 or 9. Here's Kyle loading his strike. And, again, he's left that a lot today where the 5-8 is just not
Either
not
it's
gone.
A little bit of flatness on the ball or not enough angle into the pocket.
It's just not getting to the 5-pin. And
Picks.
skims it off the side and around the 8. So a bad break on the first ball, and then a bad break really on the second ball. I mean, he hit the outside of the 5
Yeah,
pin.
I'm
And
sure
just,
he's trying to shoot the inside of it.
yeah,
You know, trying to hit both balls with the both
both pins with the ball. Yeah,
but
he hit that extremely light, I guess.
you expect to make it on the outside when you
You see
When you
Dean
hit-
Bertafay like there, finally clearing the deck.
right
Gives the old
tells the scorekeeper that's a strike.
that's a strike. Gave him the signal.
Overhearing Will Rigney's
Scolding his wife.
posting about his physical prowess.
Physical prowess. Comparing himself to
His
the guy in
physique.
Kingpin.
I don't know if he's comparing himself to Big Ernie McCracken or Roy Munson or the Amish guy. I don't know.
I can't remember which one was a little rotund.
Well, by the end of the movie, Woody Harrelson's character and Bill
put on some
Murray's
pounds.
both had the Labanza going there. The stereotypical bowler's build.
There you go. All right, so we are again. This is not an optical illusion. There's no one on the lanes. Which seems to be somewhat of a problem.
Yeah, pace is slowed a little bit.
Looking at 4 lanes that are occupied.
It feels like sounds like that the majority of the shift 5 bowlers and spectators have made their way into the center, so they're waiting for shift 3 to finish things up here.
See Sean Leteska right there go off the side for 7. The 1-3-9 spare leave. And he cleans that up for a spare.
So we know once we see Dean on screen,
Kyle's not soon behind.
Kyle's to follow.
Correct.
Dean on screen.
Now we go back over to Jesse Deach, who is starting his final game of the tournament. For a second, he thought he had another 5-10, but 5-pin kicks out, leaving him with just a 10-pin single for a spare. And seen that happen
the
a
ball-
couple of times. He ball out off the side.
Right.
Never had a chance. So he converts for 10. And we still haven't thrown a ball on.
Not sure what
3
the
and
delay is
4.
here on 3 and 4. We're getting a whole lot of Dean.
And here's Dean up on a strike. He's looking for a double. Didn't quite get to the pocket, but didn't rip for 2, so he's still got a shot at a spare here. It's just the Silva character. I don't know the
Steve
gentleman.
De Silva, I think that's the
Not
name. or
sure.
Dave
He's
De Silva?
leading the B division after 6.
138.7 average. And that's, I believe, for bowlers between 125 and 132, or 125 and 131, somewhere in that
Somewhere in
range.
that range, yes.
So that's a handicap division where you do get extra pins based on what your average is coming into the tournament. Same with the C division for bowlers averaging under 125. They have special prizes just for them.
Kyle trying to bounce back after that missed opportunity and finally gets another one to tip over. He has not had a tremendous amount of strikes. He's had a couple in the last few boxes, so this pair has been generous more so than the previous pairs that he's been on this morning.
Right. And actually, just joining us in the booth here, got Eric Leteska, We were following you, Eric, all morning long. And do you want to give us your take on what happened this morning? I know, unfortunately, it wasn't what you had hoped for score-wise, but what was it like out there for you?
Well, I'd say you've got a pretty good assessment of it there. I mean, it's hard to think of something, a little much more disappointing than the way the day went for me today. And I mean, I've got nobody to look at but myself. Just really couldn't find it.
Yeah, it seemed like you'd get a little bit of momentum, a few marks in a row, and then it would be off the side or a split or something that would just stop the momentum, whatever momentum you had going up to that point.
Right.
Was derailed.
Just not consistently in the pocket, really where you need the ball to be. I mean, this house you can see scores. There are scores up there, and you see two bowlers out there who are, still having a great show here and, duking it out. But you can't go without being consistently in the pocket and expect a good outcome.
To score.
As frustrated as I am with the score that I put up, and where I'm going to end up in the final standings. I should be pretty happy. I don't know that I had much of a. I don't know that I had much business on Friday night throwing what I threw. I would say I only felt good for a couple of the games. I had the big game that propelled me into the to where I ultimately got to. But personal performance, I probably should be okay with where the total score ended up. Not my favorite 12-game stretch, but
right.
But I'll take it.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah,
you came in today with an opportunity, and like we said before, just you get some momentum going, and then just couldn't carry it through for the full 6 games. But definitely nothing to be ashamed of for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so here's what I'll say. My scores are submitted. The tournament's, we're down 1 bowler from where we were before I finished, but now there's a fan, and I'm sitting here pretty excited to see how these bowlers finish things up, and then 6 more huge games to cover after this. I'm looking forward to the rest of the day in spite of a rough morning.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. It was you could see it in your body language throughout the day. You never got frustrated, but it was frustrating to not be able to get the ball to the pocket. There's Kyle trying to throw that elusive double, and that
was a great ball.
Just cannot get that double to get in there and really start to pile that score up.
Yeah.
It's got to make every spare though at this point. So covers that clearly. I don't know what's going on with 7 and 8. We haven't had Jesse up on the lane in a while. Kyle's now a full 3 boxes ahead. This could work out advantageous for Kyle if he can put together a couple of big boxes.
And maybe get Jesse thinking a little bit here.
So here we have Jesse, I believe, still only in his 2nd box of his last game. So here's Jesse in box 2, and oof, boy,
clean.
He is just leaving that 5-7, 5-10.
And just to kind of update you on Eric Lateska's 12-game total was 1742. So that would, I believe, put him in 4th place overall without taking into consideration the bowling going on today.
Correct.
They're finishing up their 12th games.
Jesse just blasted through the 5-pin, trying to cover up the 7-pin for 10. So at this point, Jesse has opened in his first 2 frames of game 12. Not only leaving the door open for Kyle, but also starting to bring that average down to a point where John D'Antonis can get a little bit more confidence coming into this set, where he's got a shot at catching him.
Nick's become the biggest problem solver I ever know. You know, he's just okay. I want to do that, so we're just gonna figure out how we're gonna do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated and becomes champion.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ringing 5 pin, and we have a tie.
Welcome back. Just in time to see Jesse throw his first ball of the third game. This is his final game of the 12-game tournament for Jesse Deach. He sits with a 11-game total of 1,700 even. So he is all but assured to be the leader after this last game, unless Kyle Shaw catches him. It's just a matter of how high those scores are going to be.
You see Jesse now open through 3. Kyle's going to make up 43 pins, and the only chance he's got of doing that is 2 things. He's got to bowl well, and got to hope that Jesse doesn't, or doesn't go crazy.
Already up 19 pins after just 3 frames with those 2 strikes. Jesse's got 3 10 boxes, hasn't thrown a mark yet.
So 43 minus 19, quick.
24.
20, there you go. We got in there, Jim.
Gold star.
All right, so down to 24 pin. And again, how often do we see this happen? Jesse has been leading, seemingly insurmountable.
He was 90 pins right at one point, not too long ago.
Now it's down into the range of a double, takes it away.
Right. And here's Kyle. Another spare leave.
And Kyle covers, so an 8 load and another spare, starting to put a little bit more pressure on.
And is Jesse peeking over at Kyle's score? Is Kyle peeking over at Jesse's score?
At this point, I think Kyle's fairly aware Jesse has 30 through 3. I would imagine.
And it's hard not to tell, especially if there's people cheering and you hear a cheer, oh, that must be Kyle. Oh, that must be Jesse. Even if you're trying purposely not to follow their scores, it's hard not to know. But like you said, the exciting conclusion is in front of us here, and this is only shift 3. We have an entire shift yet to go with a handful of contenders that are going to be chasing whatever numbers Kyle and Jesse post.
Yeah, we have to imagine or assume at this point either Kyle or Jesse is going to be the leader in the clubhouse.
Right.
One of them. No one else is.
I'd put money on it. I'd put all the money in my wallet on it right now.
Oh, I don't think there's anybody else.
It's just a matter of which one of the two.
At the end of this
as
shift.
far as shift 3 is concerned,
Correct.
It's just it's a 2-horse race from the
It
shift.
then becomes a matter of can Johnny D, can Don Dove, can Stacey Kelly, can one of those guys come hot out of the gate and put a really early charge on to put themselves right into the picture.
Right.
Johnny D doesn't have to go crazy.
But sometimes that can work against you. Maybe you're a little too comfortable. So I don't have to put up a big score. I just need to.
Well, if it's 1850,
right,
Johnny's got to go 900 again.
Right.
That's still a big score.
910.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the most exciting part of the tournament, right in front of us here.
And if you were sitting here watching us say that, you'd think we were crazy because there's nobody in front of us. But we're talking about the cameras.
Again, you can feel it. There's the bigger crowd here now filing in.
It gets more and more as the day wears on.
People are cheering on Kyle and Jesse a little bit more now.
Kyle with yet another 8 drop. I'm not sure that was as clean as others that we've seen.
A little more tailing away.
So here's Kyle trying to clean up another, and he does catch just enough.
Right.
out of his hand, I thought that had a chance to chop off.
So again, here's another hot start from Kyle, but he's extended it now into the 6th frame. Each of the last couple of games, he's come out first half of the game great, but then maybe a rip of the middle or a miss.
Well, this is the point. The 7th and 8th box has been his nemesis
Right.
throughout the last 3 or 4
So
games.
let's see if he's able to conquer them.
Again, we're not seeing any activity on lanes 7 and 8 right now. I'm not sure if there's mechanical
not
problems or
Well, now Walt's bowling. So Walt's bowling his 4th frame, which means Jesse will be following him. I'm not sure what the delays are, but just a matter of time. We'll have Jesse on screen. Again, it's a 2-horse race for shift 3. Connecticut's Kyle Shaw, Maryland's Jesse Deach. Jesse, the #1 bowler in the nation, the reigning DPBA Pro Tour Bowler of the Year. Kyle Shaw has finished 3rd each of the last 2 years, looking to improve on those performances. And still shift 5 to come, which is
Kyle
always
Shaw's going to be a perennial contender in this tournament as long as he chooses to bowl in it.
right.
He's just always going to score here or anywhere, but
Right.
here
But it seems like
particularly.
he's always been right around 1,800, maybe a little bit above, a little bit below,
Yeah.
but hasn't really had that big breakout number.
I would be shocked if in 5 years we didn't say this is Kyle Shaw's
right.
attempt to win his 3rd
It has
Eastern.
to be better than 50-50.
Right.
I would say
Right.
that he would win one. And here finally is Jesse's 4th frame.
Jesse in his 4th frame, he had a long delay
Long wait.
there for
There's
between
long
boxes. I
waits
don't know if
in this
that's starting to wear on him or not.
Off the side for 8, but still a spare leave.
Seemingly, there was 5 minutes between those.
Seemed
balls.
like it. Easy.
So
I don't
now
remember how he got his last 10 bucks.
he had the 5, 7, and he made the 5 and then the 7.
Right. It's been that long.
It's been a while.
Right.
And
There was a sleeper.
there was
pin.
a sleeper,
Wow.
and now things are starting to
The tide is turning.
add up for Kyle here, and Jesse's got to turn it around.
Right.
As it stands right now, Kyle's made up 27 of the 49, so
22.
down to a 22-pin lead, and Kyle's got 2 marks going forward.
Another 10 bucks for Jesse. At
So-
least he's not leaving any pins on the deck.
So Kyle is down 43 pins, and he's made up 27 pins. He's down to a 16-pin
And he
deficit.
has a spare working.
So we're down to
Two
a
spares working
we're
against.
down to a tournament now where it's down to the final 6 frames.
All right, just waiting for Kyle Shaw to take the lane here.
Kyle working on
4 marks in a row.
spares in a row, 4 marks in a row. He's got 5 out of 6 marks in this game. And that could be the description of any of his games that he's bowled today, really.
Right.
He's been sparing consistently throughout the day. Right now he's starting to heat up at the right time. And
Just like the last few games, whenever he
what
gets
did we
a head
say?
full of steam,
7th and 8th box has been a nemesis for him.
he,
Dreaded 1-5.
yeah, I have to get an exact number on that count for him.
It's 2.
Can't quite tell.
That was a 2-load.
3,
2-load.
2. Wow.
So he needs to clean this up for at least 9. So there's a 2-load 8 box.
It looks like for the moment here, we're going to send it on over to Eric Lateska, who's taking the bowling shoes off, microphone in hand, and he is standing with the first weekend leader, Kevin Martin.
Yeah, hey guys, Kevin. Just thought we'd get your thoughts here on last weekend, how things went, and then what's going through your mind here. By the way, folks, there's nobody's scorecard that's been submitted yet that's beat this guy. He's the leader in the clubhouse, and still, we'll hang on as long as we can, right, Kevin? The,
Oh, yeah.
The top-ranked, top-seeded bowler right now.
I'm looking at the heavy hitters right now, and Jesse's is sitting at 1,700, one game to go, so that knocks me down to 2. And I see Kyle's having a great weekend, so that's going to be 3. But I'm hoping to be in the top 10, really, realistically, because there's a lot of more big bowlers coming up.
That's great. You notice anything different about the way that the pins, the house is reacting this week than last week? I think you've been here. You were here yesterday too, right?
Yeah. If you throw it in the pocket, they're going down. You know, you just keep throwing that ball where you want it, and you're going to get a good mix. And it's all up to speed too here. You know, you really can't throw the ball too hard; they just splash back.
All right, there you have it, guys. Consistent pin action here. I'm going to throw it back to Pat and Jim.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Kevin. While we were away, Jesse Deach unfortunately ripped off the side, ripped out the 3-9, tried to convert that for a spare, left the 5-pin and converted that for another 10 box. So at this point, we're down to an 8-pin differential between Kyle Shaw and Jesse Deach. Kyle has basically 2 10 boxes in front of him.
Right. Had the spare in the 6.
So
but
his lead is tenuous.
right. It's going to come. It's neck and neck as we head down the stretch for these two. What is the number that Shift 5 is going to chase? What is that number, and whose number is it going to be?
At this point, I'd say it's going to be in the low 1800s.
Right,
That's
right
as
where
high
it
as it can
normally
get.
is. Who do you pick between the two?
I got to think right now. Jesse's going to bounce back right here, and Kyle's in a position where he needs to throw strikes. I know. I'm going to put. I'm going to say Jesse's going to win this by less than 10 pins. And I'm probably going to be wrong because Kyle's about to convert another spare. If Jesse doesn't spare soon, he's going to be tied with 2 boxes to go.
Oh, wow.
Kyle rips one off the side there. So that is a unfortunate box right there. It's 7th and 8th box again for Kyle.
Yeah.
Right now we're going to turn it back over to Eric Leteska, who has another bowler who's about to take over the last shift of the tournament. Eric?
On our broadcast today, John, we keep our standings in the back here. We kind of keep track of the rankings by average through whatever games you've completed. Right now, you're at the top of the list. Okay, Jesse's still carrying over 150, 155ish, but you know your mark's a little bit higher. How do you feel going into today? 6 more games to go.
It's a new day. Yesterday it went pretty well. Hopefully today will be just as good as yesterday, but we'll see how it handles. See what goes on.
Yeah, we got 2 bowlers here who are pretty close to one another at this point. It's Kyle Shaw and Jesse Deach. You don't have to make a pick if you don't want to, but if you had to, who do you think's gonna be the person you got to beat?
The way Kyle's throwing the ball now, he's probably going to be the guy that gets on top. But you never know. A couple good breaks here or there, double. Somebody else could go on top. Could be anybody.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's going to be a lot of work today. I wish you best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for taking a couple minutes with us.
No problem.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Johnny. All right, so we see John D'Antonis in his normal Sunday construction orange, so we can keep a close watch on him throughout the day.
The safety cone.
Safety cone orange. Well, right now, in terms of the battle between Kyle Shaw and Jesse Deach, it's an 8-pin differential through the boxes that Jesse has completed.
Right.
But at this point, he's looking at 3 10 boxes in front of him.
Right.
So he can gain in any of these next 3 boxes and add differential. However, I'm sure Jesse wasn't coming into this thinking, oh, I can squeeze out an 18-10.
Right.
So he's got 5 boxes left. He has 5 boxes to really make substantial move here to give him some distance going into the next shift,
Right.
even
A
if
little bit of
Kyle
breathing
doesn't
room.
catch him.
And looking at Kyle, his score in relation to 1800, he needs at least 1 mark and a very good fill. You know, if he goes spare 9 fill 10 box, that'll put him at 144, and that would put him at 1801.
Right. And if Jesse goes, let's just say Jesse throws 100, it's not going to happen unless he leaves the 5-7 again.
Which he just did.
So this is going to be getting very frustrating for Jesse throwing the ball that looked like what has been generating
Right.
at least 9 drops and strikes
And,
now all of a sudden is creating very difficult spares.
and I don't know if it's the pressure of the moment or just bad luck or what it
Bounce
may
that
be.
around. So there's one box down, basically staved off one of the first 3. He's got an 8-pin difference to make up, and he's
And Jesse's clean the plate each of the 6 frames, but unfortunately it's taken him 3 balls to do it every time. So he's at
So-
60 through 6.
this is almost in this situation, this is almost a must mark situation for Kyle.
For both of them, really.
And really, it is
both of
both.
them.
Jesse's got to start marking as well.
And it looks like we're going to kick it over. No, we're not going to just yet. We have an interview waiting in the wings, but we're going to stay with the action here first.
It's a very important ball for Kyle Shaw. If he's ever going to throw a strike, this is a huge spot.
Wow.
And that was a huge spot, wasn't it? So, big spot for Kyle Shaw right there. With
Challenge
a
accepted.
huge strike. I'm going to turn it over to Eric Leteska, who has last year's defending champion Dan Richmond standing by.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. All right, you said it. We're here with Dan Richmond, 2017 Eastern Classic champion, defending champion. Dan, how did your shift go yesterday? And what are your thoughts of what's going on right now? It's two bowlers duking it out to try and take over the top seed.
Well, it looked like it was Jesse was in a great spot to kind of make it really hard for him to catch, but he's had 2 of the last 3 games real rough, and Kyle's reeling him in, and it's pretty open for anybody on this shift as well. I mean, it's not going to be a score that's out of reach. It's going to take some great bowling, but I think it's going to be probably 5 or 10 more people that have a shot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's certainly not over when these guys turn in their scorecards. What about you? How did yesterday go?
You know, yesterday I had 847, not good. It was one of those days. Last year, every time needed a mark, I found a way to get one. Yesterday I had 2 doubles, both times right through the middle in the 10th. So, I mean, it just seems like every time I tried to get going, I just didn't quite get over the hump, but maybe today we'll break through for a big one.
All right, well, we wish you luck. Thank you for taking some time.
Thank you.
Good luck and good shooting.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Dan. So we return to the live action. Kyle Shaw's down to his last box of the tournament. And to say it's a big one is would be the understatement of the year right now. He is one of the biggest balls he's going to throw in his life right here as far as this next box.
Other than that triple in the 10th earlier today, he hasn't had a double. He hasn't had any multiple strikes at all. And here's a supreme chance to do that.
Here
Vault
comes.
himself up the leaderboard.
Here's Kyle's shot. And that's a replay you're watching up top. The actual result of Kyle's ball was the 7-8.
Wow.
And that's going to hurt. Jesse Deach off camera has just thrown a 9-drop. So at this point, all Jesse needs to do is mark to stay ahead of Kyle. Kyle finishes with a 10-box 144.
1801.
So he gets to 1801, but Jesse just needs a 102 game to surpass that. And there's the first mark, 12th game for Jesse Deach, and more than likely a frame that's going to send him into the lead in this tournament. The 3rd shift, but the 4th shift of the tournament will have been completed. So 4 boxes left to as
Add
much as
many
he can,
pins
as much
possible
as he
to that
can.
1800 score.
Absolutely. At this point, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to see the finish of Jesse Deach's tournament. And once again, we're Duckpin TV coming to you live from Mansfield Center, Lucky Strike Lanes, with the 88th annual Frank Barber Memorial Eastern Classic Duckpin Tournament.
I think Nick's become the biggest problem solver I ever know. You know, he's just okay. I want to do that, so we're just gonna figure out how we're gonna do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill, needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated. McClellan's champion.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ringing 5 pin, and we have a tie.
Game of his tournament. Again, he is approaching the 1800 mark. Just to give you a reference point, he needs a 102 right now to take the lead in the clubhouse. Kyle Shaw is in the clubhouse at this time as the leader with an 1801. Joined here again by Jim Kaufman as we wrap up shift 3 of the Frank Barber Memorial Eastern Classic. Any thoughts on the final 3 frames that Jesse has in front of him?
Well, again, opportunity. That's the way I'd look at it if I were him. Opportunity to put up as big of a number as possible, to make it as difficult as possible for the bowlers on shift 5 to catch him. And just looking back to Kyle's 6 games, just never could really string together some strikes. He had that triple in the 10th one game. Had an opportunity at the very end, had a strike in the 9th. His first ball of the tournament, could have thrown a double or more to put up a good 1800 number, and unfortunately leaves the 7-8.
Yeah, I mean, it was shocking to watch Kyle Shaw, who he owns this house, and
Almost literally, he's the manager here, right?
It did not treat him. I mean, for him to average 147 or higher in this bowling alley is a phenomenal accomplishment, and it just didn't treat him well.
No,
you can't say it didn't. I mean, he just didn't get enough of the breaks that you need to drop those doubles. And so, I mean, it was interesting to watch because, as is always the case, Kyle never reacts.
Right, just very
it's
deadpan emotion.
just one attitude. It's just like go to the next box, go to the next box, and so the frustration level didn't build because it's Kyle Shaw, but it had to be frustrating to think I can't get a double.
Right, and just looking at his games, I mean, he didn't. His high game was only 169 on his first block on Saturday.
Yep.
Today he had a 183, but only one other game over 150.
Yeah, because he finally got the triple.
Right, and that was in the 10th frame.
Right.
At the very end. Right?
Other than that, he was between 139 and 159 all day.
Right.
I mean, that's where he lives. That's where he bowls. I mean, he could not get the strikes to fall for him when he needed them, and he may have missed a couple of singles here and there, but that's not that's not the story of his day.
Human.
No.
That's just being human. But now we're back onto Jesse here again. How much of a
you got to build the score up.
How much
you
of a
have
cushion
to.
can he give himself?
At this
Working on
point,
a
he
spare.
knows he's going to pass Kyle. He knows that. He just has to add more to that score.
Wow.
And then, man, how many times have we seen that? Is that right through the middle?
Yeah, we're waiting for a confirmation of the exact number there. Brian running out to go verify. Good attempt at trying to cover it.
There was 2.
Just a 2 fill. Wow.
So if he doesn't get a 10 box here,
He needs another mark.
he needs another mark. So that's
7 box.
a 7 or a 6. So at this point, it's a 6 box. Jesse's
Wow.
put him in. He's not clinched anything yet. He needs a mark.
A mark. So forget about trying to
Forgetting padding the score. He needs a mark to
Getting
get ahead of
the lead.
Kyle. And at this point, if Kyle's watching, he's got to be just scratching his head like, how many times did I go 158? How many
Right.
times? I mean, it's seemingly at the same point in every game he would hit that little glitch and that's just enough. It probably cost him 20 or 30 pins.
And just that very first ball he threw, could have been a
Great
double.
ball.
give me a 9 drop.
Yeah,
Give me something
right.
here.
Great
But
ball.
7-8.
Yep.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Right? We all can do that with our scores.
And again,
But
how
this
many
one's magnified.
we have? Not that we're gurus, but 1800 is 1800 is 1800.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the number. 150 is the number. And right now, Jesse is struggling to get to it. Kyle is a pin over it.
And if you look back over the past couple of years, it's more than 1800, whether it's 1830 or 1850 or whatever the scores have been.
Absolutely.
1800 on the nose is probably not going to win the tournament.
I would say no. And
1801
because
probably
at this point, with what John D'Antonis is starting with, he only has to go
870.
Well, not even
865.
855, 865
Right.
gets him there, and that's a normal day for him.
Right. That's a
Couple of
disappointing
430s,
day.
A couple of 440 sets.
Right.
You know? He could do that all day.
Here's Jesse, 9th frame.
This is again Kyle struck in this frame. This is critical.
He answers the
So
challenge.
there's the one he needed.
And not only is it a mark, it's a strike.
So
Give
now
him
that's
a
when he can
chance
build
to-
on.
right, double on it, triple on it. But that will more than
That was
likely.
Incredibly clutch shot there. I mean, considering this game, the way it was going,
Right.
the pressure that was mounting, knowing that Kyle was in with 1801, huge ball.
And how much better do you feel as opposed to like having to shoot like the 10 pin?
Well,
In
if
that-
you have to make
in
it
that,
fair.
right?
Absolutely.
In that situation,
Yeah, absolutely.
Walt Leteska feeling it.
Doing
127
a
plus
dance.
in the
Doing a
ninth for Walt.
dance.
Hey Eric, what's your father been doing to clean his bowling balls? I know bowling with him at Holiday, every like 5 frames he takes his bowling balls and puts them in the machine that they have there, the polishing machine. What does he do here?
I think you know, Jim, that the Holiday Lanes has a little bit of a reputation of the balls getting dirty pretty often. I don't think he needs to clean them as frequently. He can probably live without the machine, but
I heard they're not making that
it is
proof
part of
stuff
his-
anymore,
part of
that
his
wet
process
proof.
every couple of frames to keep those things nice and shiny and clean.
He's padding the pockets of the Holiday Lanes 10 cents at a time every time he cleans those bowling balls.
Did you hear the? I heard that the wet proof that some of the bowlers
I
use.
saw
they
a
don't- they don't-
post.
They don't make that anymore.
I saw that online.
Dennis
I don't know
is
if
going to
it's
be
true or
going out and
not.
buying every can he can find.
Yeah, Dennis Ponce is known for using the wet proof to get a good grip on the bowling balls, and I've been using it now as well. He was kind enough to give me a
It's gonna
tin
be
of
black
his wet
market
proof.
for that now. It's going to be
And I don't-
$20 a tin.
Yeah, I know when he would go down south, he'd go near stores near military installations where a lot of the soldiers use that to clean their shoes or
Yeah.
shine their shoes or protect them, and he'd buy a case of it as much as he could get his hands on. And now,
Not so much.
Dennis might be the person that you have to go to.
It's going to be a black market.
The soldiers might be
so-
knocking on Dennis's
wet
door to
proof.
buy some wet proof. I'm not sure.
So we are at a point now where once Jesse throws his next 2 balls, he will take the lead. The question now is how much over 1800 is he going to get?
I mean, well, he can max out at 138 for this game.
So they give him 1838. That's his highest.
Right.
That's the highest he can put in the scores.
Right.
So he's going to be somewhere between 1810 and 1838.
Right. And really, if he can somehow double or triple here at the end, that could give him a pretty good shot at winning the tournament because I believe that's right around what the number was.
Well, 1830
last year. So,
and that puts again, just looking at what's on the board right now, that puts John D in a position to throw like an 8 in 90.
890. That's still a
right.
A big task.
But there are
especially in a vacuum. Yeah, John can shoot 890, 900 for 6 anytime.
Here's
but-
Jesse's.
Wow.
And he does not catch the 10 double. So with a make here, he's at
still an
98.
opportunity to-
He can go 118, put him at 1818.
There you go. It's a nice ring to it.
If he makes this spare and loads with 10, he'll be at 1818 for the tournament. So did a great job of recovering from what was a horrendous start to the game. And it wasn't all his fault. He had several 5-7, 5-10 leaves where the ball was in the pocket. So now he's just adding to 1808 right now. It's 1808 plus a ball. And So it's 1817. We took a little trip along the Colonel Jackson, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the War of
12.
1814. So Jesse took his trip in 1817.
1817 is the number to beat.
Right.
Jesse Deach, again, the reigning #1 bowler in the nation, reigning Pro Tour Bowler of the Year, and is now atop the leaderboard here at the 88th Eastern Classic. 12-game score of 1817. So
Just so everybody knows,
My
I was
math-
referring to the War of 1812, but the war ended before Jackson took his trip, which happened in 1814. So he went down and fought a battle that the war had already ended. So
Well-
the war's ending right now, and I'm waving the white flag.
you're the oldest one here, so we'll take your word
Okay,
for it.
all right. We're going to be back in when? About 45
Well,
minutes?
I think we're shooting for 3 o'clock. I know initially we had posted 2 o'clock, but with the shift running late
Yeah.
and the fact that we can only stream for 4 hours at a time on Facebook, we'll be back here at 3 o'clock, and we'll stay with the action until we have a winner for
Right.
the 88th Eastern Classic. So tune in right around 3 o'clock. We'll be back here on Facebook Live. We'll see you soon.